It's Chris. What are you talking about today? Crowdfunding news roundup. A little bit of hotness sprinkled all over the top too. What's been going on this past week? What's upcoming for next week? And you know, the 27th, this upcoming week is going to be by far and away the biggest week in February, which leads me to the point of kind of wondering always in the back of my head, right? Like, how do you actually decide on a crowdfunding date? And then inevitably, like almost once a month, all of these big projects seem to cluster around it. Like, are they like, ooh, that last week of February? So tempting, like Homer with a donut. But that's just kind of what I wonder as a side note there. But first up, I touched on it last week, but it was eclipsed by the CMON Gamefound exclusive Blood Pact. Just kidding. But it was Gamefound's second announcement with that, you know, on the 27th, launching simultaneously to all of the big projects, they're going to be doing a live stream talking about their Quattro of the year. Well, I mean, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but they're big for upcomings of the year. And I don't really know what to make of this at this point. I don't really know what it's going to bring. Are we going to see a little bit of tease from previous? Or is it going to be just a lot of new stuff, a lot of new ventures? We've seen iterations of their previous things along the way, even recently, right? We've seen the Tainted Grail 2.0. We've seen the Nemesis trilogy. Are we going to see like an ISS 2.0? Are we going to see an Etherfields 2.0? 3.0 maybe. What else is in store? I'm curious. Are they going to branch out? You know, we've seen with CMON this past year of 2023, right? With Mordred, blessing and curse that one was. Song of Ice and Fire, which is wrapping up at the time of me filming this, which again is doing fine. It's doing fine, right? But I also would make the argument that for an IP like Song of Ice and Fire, I'd kind of hope for more than fine. It's just me. But, you know, skirmish style, grid-based battling with points-based teams is not going to necessarily be as much. So are we going to see something different? Are we just going to see more of the similar goodness? And again, time frame wise, because if you're talking about launching them each in a quarter, right? 4 projects, breaking them out rather evenly spaced throughout 2024. That means the first one might be later in March. Could be very, very soon on the horizon. Now, wouldn't be surprised. It's been a while since I've seen any photos leaked about prototypes anywhere on the internet webs. So, you know, if they announce something is going to be brand new, spanking hot on the heels of this video, don't be shocked, right? I am not one of those privy on the inside information. So, you know, go to your other bigger name content folks if you're really lurking for, you know, some information along those sides of things. What else we got going on? Well, did you know, I just randomly came across this past week. Devir. Devir is doing their own sort of 500 system where they're taking pre-orders and they're, you know, pushing the print button once they get enough, sort of like the P500 system, right? Only I'm assuming this is going to be a lot more, well, actually getting stuff done, because, you know, I got burned twice now with that P500 system. Once when Dominant Species Marine, which is sitting right back up over there, got done. I said, holy crap, that looks amazing. And you know what? I really like it. Never going to get played because it's a little too heavy long for my usual, but it hasn't gone anywhere either. That's how much I like it. And the other one was another, what was it actually titled? Lizard Wizard? No, just kidding. That's a different game. It was a wizard-based game, and it was a complete departure from a lot of the P500 games in the first place. And they got it after like Space Biff did a preview of the prototype, and it just shot up. And then it never went anywhere. Never went anywhere. Months, year to 2 years went by, and it never went anywhere because I don't like this system as a whole. I mean, it makes stuff that wouldn't be made, but it also just is broken in the sense that, you know, you think you're going to reach the pre-order and it still might be 2 years before you have a game in that sense. So it's not really any better than crowdfunding, although people like espouse it. And to be frank, I paid probably a good $15 to $20 more for Dominant Species Marine than if I would have waited for retail. So, and guess what? No exclusives there. So bash on crowdfunding all you will, but I don't think that system's any better. But now Devir going and doing it, I'm hoping that it is literally just going to be a click it and print in the next like 3 months and get it sort of thing as well. And we're seeing, speaking of Simon there a minute ago, the revision, the redoing of Study in Emerald from them is kind of another test in that market. Now, that's not supposed to be delivered until like the end of the year, like November. They haven't closed pledges yet. And so I wouldn't lie, I'm relatively tempted. And it's been a while since I've thought about that one. It's like what, Dark Providence, something along those names. But I don't know. I mean, do people really enjoy it? I think they do, but I think there's also some it's out of print and you can't get it factor with the original as well. So I'm not really sure comparatively where it falls. I had a copy, I sold a copy. Actually, I think I ended up with 2 copies at some point. Bad math trading on my part. By the way, don't do bad math trades. So that's going on. Then we also have an interesting Druid City game being just recently, I don't know if it was announced or just discovered over on Board Game Geek, Madcala. Now, very similar to Wonderlands War, thematically speaking. It's, it's a playoff with a Mad Hatter, but they're going in a different direction with a, well, as you can probably guess by the name, Madcala style mechanic. I mean, so there's no details at this point, right? But it is going to be taking those Wonderlands Wars and take that asymmetric 1 versus 1. Ooh, that's why he's intrigued, right? That's why he's talking about it. Pitting battle of wits and luck head to head, take them out. Outthinking, maneuvering, and, picking up your beads and leaving one plate as you pass on Madcala, but getting your, little asymmetric powers and abilities that are going to give you a different approach and a strategy to Madcala in the first place, right? It sort of gives me that League of Legends Wonder sort of bluffing game that came out a couple years ago that got a ton of hype, and then people were like, this is it? This is kind of falling flat. Now, again, like, I'm intrigued because I love me some 1 versus 1 asymmetric stuff. So I like the aesthetic of Wonderlands War. That's, I think, one of its biggest, best selling points. But you got to give me something to go along with it. So yeah, I'm interested. Color me intrigued. Wonderlands War 2.0 Mandala version, if you will. And let's go sideways there, and let's go with a different aspect of things, because the other thing that was brought to my radar was Corridor. You may remember Corridor, you move their little walls, get your little pieces across, but now they're going to make a PacMan version of it. And you can be PacMan or the ghosts. I don't know, it's kind of cool for a relatively well thought of, older-ish abstract game. Would it be easier to get to the table? Heck yes. My kids would eat that up, even though my kids don't even know what Pac-Man is. I mean, there's a local golf indoor, like neon light up golf. It's called Glow Golf. And they love going to it. But there's an arcade there, and you basically just pay and you can, use all the arcade games. But that's where Pac-Man is. And so my kids saw Pac-Man for the first time like a year ago there. But I don't know if they ever actually played it. I played it to show them what it was. Dating myself there, my dad was super into Pac-Man. Like, holy, that's a whole nother story. But okay, so what else do we got going on? Well, the other thing, Gale Force 9 sort of just recently announced over on the Gamefound, right? And this is the other thing we're going to start to see. Gamefound has done this with several publishers, giving them sort of their own announcement forum, announcement pedestal, if you will. And they announced that they are bringing 3 games to Gamefound. Although you might think that you'd be tempted to bring them all together, they're bringing them all separately. And what are those 3? Well, we have Dune. Now, Dune from them, not Imperium from Direwolf, but Dune, the classic remake of that edition. I think this is in 2019, with the asymmetric factions, more of an area control style. And then you also have Star Trek Ascendancy, and then they're calling this the Final Frontier. Really? I guess you went there. I guess, you know what? Probably a really good name for it, actually. I'll give them kudos. But they're giving you it all Ascendancy, which has been a little bit hard to get. I think some of the stuff has been kind of in and out of print for a while. One giant box. It reminds me more of the Firefly big box, right? Where they kind of had some, in and outs from that aspect. But they're giving you some brand new content with all the other expansions made. So all the expansions, though, I mean, that's a ton of expansions. And, it's all asymmetric factions of everything. I'm not a Trekkie, guys. I can't name all the factions for you. The Borg! Done. Before I stick my foot in my mouth. The last one is, now I'm assuming this is a little bit of a remake, because there's a couple of these older Conan games out there, but this is The Adventures of Conan. So story-based questing with rolling dice. I don't know. Take it for what you will. So if I blow it up here, you can see Adventures of Conan. This one, launching April 2024. You know, they're going old school Conan comic book style variety aesthetic here. So take that for what you will. Get your little free gift. Now this one is up first on me just giving you the snapshot here, because as you can see, a little bit of overlay of the board game there, but launching April of 2024. Conan the Barbarian from, like I said, right, Dark Horse Comics. See, I knew that without even looking. And it's going to be heavy dice rolling. So get your free Conan miniature for following. And then we'll go over here to Star Trek Ascendancy, The Final Frontier, and that's just, you can see right there, beaming down in late 2024. So get it in 2026, essentially. And they run you through the 7 expansions, right? Every expansion ever. A whole bunch of quotes already on this from people that you may or may not recognize. And they're giving you a new race. So, Coolsville, I guess? You get a dice tray for following. That's kind of... okay. And then Dune. Here's the Dune one, right? Lands 2025. It's this Dune. It's this Dune right here. You'll know it when you see it. This one, you know? So shut up and sit down. They throw a quote up there from them and 2025, and that's it. So does that make you more intrigued, less intrigued, more interested, less interested in potentially 2 big box versions of games that you may or may not have had any interest whatsoever prior to this? And a Conan game, which we just had a Conan game go, so... We have another couple recent announcements as well that we have to highlight. In case you did not hear me say it several times in other videos, I've just got my Mythic Battles Ragnarok. Why is that relevant? Well, Monolith has sort of let the cat out of the bag. The next Mythic Battles is Isfet? Well, that's the Egyptian gods, heroes, and monsters. Now, I would assume at the time of me filming this that that's not going to be too far off. Now, they just finished Conan, so maybe beginning of Q2 is gonna be my guess at this point. And nothing would really surprise me. But the real question you have to ask yourself is, just like with the Nemesis trilogies, right? Do you need any more? I don't need any more. I didn't even get any of the expansions to go along with Ragnarok. But am I intrigued? And do I like the Egyptian pantheon as well? Yeah, I like the Greek pantheon and arguably the Norse pantheon even more, though. And I didn't get any of the little Loki side expansion creature monsters in that one as much as and as cool as they looked. So, again, are we going to get more of a freaking good thing? Like, it reminds me of an Arcadia Quest style more than anything else, where, again, Aeon's End. Too much of a good thing is a good thing. The next one from one of my other indie favorite designers, Uchiba Koya, out of Japan, just announced their upcoming game as well, called Enclosure. In case you're not familiar, the more recent game of a worker placement resource management biohack. Now you're researchers trying to study the adaptability of the monsters that are in the previous game Biohack. So